Hey, what's up, leaders? I want to take a minute to share with you a leadership thought that comes out of Luke chapter 6. It's about verse 12. In that passage, the Bible says that Jesus, one evening, went into the mountain, and there in the mountains, he prayed all night long. And then in the morning, he called his disciples to himself, and out of them, he chose 12 of whom would become apostles. And here's my question from that little passage in Luke 6. Who recruited for Jesus' team? That's the question. Who recruited for his team? Who built the team Jesus led? And the answer is this. It's simple. Jesus did. No one out-recruited him for his team. No one built his team. No one worked harder to build his team than he did. Here's my challenge, my leadership challenge this week. Don't let anyone out-recruit you as a leader for your team. Don't let anyone out-recruit you as a small group leader for your small group. When I was very young in ministry, in my early 20s, I'd taken a position at a church as children's pastor. When I got there, there wasn't much of a team there. There was really only one lady, and she was stepping aside. One of the first things that I did, even though I didn't know anything about kids ministry, one of the first things that I did was I started recruiting people to that team. And I remember one time telling my pastor, hey, will you start making, I did this. And I know some of us, we've done this, okay? Some of you guys have probably done this. I said, Pastor, will you make some announcements? I need more people on my team. Will you start announcing for me that I need help in our kids ministry? And I remember him turning that conversation back at me. And I remember him challenging me like this. He said, listen, he said, you be the number one recruiter for that ministry team. You be the number one, be proactive in building that team. And so I want to give you some stuff to think about. Number one, if you lead a small group, I want to give you some words of wisdom when it comes to leading small group, leading ministry teams. Every time I've led a small group, before group sign-ups, I've always stacked my group. Even though I know we have an app, and twice a year we do group sign-ups, and we promote all of our small groups, and we encourage people to get on the app and check any groups that they're interested in, or do that on a connection card in one of our group directories. I know we do that stuff. But never, as a group leader, never depend on that source to be what recruits for your group or builds your group. I always stack my group. What I'll do, when I have some people in my group, I'll start to think about other people in our congregation who would mesh well, blend well with the people already in the group, and then I just start pulling, man. I just start asking. You want to know one of the ways to build your group or build your ministry team? Simply ask. And I want you to, all of you team leaders, I want you to remember this as well. Growth track is our assimilation process. It's how we get people from the seat to service. But don't wait on growth track to be what drives people to you. Go ahead and recruit somebody if you think they would be a good fit. Go ahead and recruit somebody, and in doing so, always direct them to growth track as a step in the process. But it doesn't have to be the first step always. Always. Do you hear what I'm saying? It doesn't always have to be the first step. A lot of the people who greet for us, especially on the north side of town, are people who 2 years ago, I just thought, man, they would be a great greeter. And I just started asking. And then in asking, in their serving, I would say, hey, you haven't been through Growth Track yet? Oh, man, come with me to Growth Track this week. So remember, Growth Track is a step in the process. It doesn't always have to be the first step. It can just be a step. So I really want to encourage all of you leaders to continue to be proactive at building your team. Be the biggest builder, biggest recruiter. Don't let anybody out-recruit or out-build you for your team. And then when it comes to group sign-ups, always stack it and then leave a couple of spots for people who might sign up and indicate, yeah, I'd like to be a part of that. But be proactive at stacking it as much as possible. Now let me ask you one more question. What are some practical ways What are practical ways that we can recruit and build our team? I want to give you 3 practical ways, okay? Number 1, ask. It's just that simple. Just ask. And again, telling people, hey, you're not signing in blood. I just want to ask. I think you would be awesome, and I think you'd love being on this team, and you'd be an awesome asset. A lot of people, remember this, a lot of people have a hard time seeing themselves as God sees them. And so sometimes we see great potential in people when they don't see it in themselves. And when we say things like, hey, I think you might be awesome helping us and gelling with what we do on our team. I think, you got the best smile. You got the most friendly disposition. I think you'd be a great greeter. When we speak life into people like that, it brings something to life. So ask. That's the first one. Ask. Here's the second thing, just practical things. Make it fun. Whatever you make fun, people are going to be attracted to. So stay away from things like, oh my gosh, we don't have anybody serving here or on my team or what have you. I'm desperate. Those things communicate the wrong message. So always make it fun. And then always give shout outs, social media, text, whatever. Send a thank you card to people who you find serving over the top. Because remember, whatever you celebrate, you duplicate. So number 1, ask. Number 2, make it fun. Here's the third one. And this is the most important one, but the one we do the least of. And that's pray. Remember, Jesus said, pray to the Lord of the harvest that he would send laborers. Think about that. And then in Luke 6, when Jesus recruits his 12 apostles, what had he done the night before? The Bible says in verse 12 that he spent an entire night in prayer. And I guarantee you he was praying about the people he was getting ready to recruit. So 3 things on a practical level that you can do. Ask, make it fun, and pray. And be proactive at building. Be the biggest recruiter and builder of your team or your small group that your team or small group has. So thank you guys. You guys are awesome leaders. You do a phenomenal job. Thank you for all you do. I hope that challenges you, and I hope that ministers to you. God bless.